I surely wouldn't surprise anybody by saying that secondhand shopping is good for the environment. So today I decided to switch the perspective a little bit and talk about some other obvious and some not so perks of thrifting from my personal, rather amateur experience. Let's get into it. Hi everybody and welcome to the Purple Mood. I've been back into thrifting for something around 2 years now, and surely it doesn't come without some tough points. For instance, you're likely to spend a bit more time looking for some specific item secondhand. But at the same time, you most certainly would spend less money on it, even if it's something totally new and unworn. Which is probably the greatest and most obvious perk given the current economical situation and crazy clothing prices, even in mass market. That works especially great when it comes to the online thrifting, as with the platforms like Depop or Poshmark in States or Vinted in Europe, you can find almost anything. My favorite category here would be shoes, because, well, have you seen the Doc Martens prices?
Fuck this.
So yeah, it's really great to be able to get those dogs or whatever you're looking for 30 to 50% less than original price, and I honestly don't know who could argue with that. The next nice thing about thrifting, which I found out from my personal experience, is the chance to get something you really want, even if it's sold out everywhere. The most exciting example for me is the story of my crazy pink shoulder bag. I honestly could only imagine how tired of it my regular viewers are, but I'm still madly in love with it, sorry. I liked it very much and been thinking about buying it new, but got distracted as it usually happens, and when I checked again it was no longer available anywhere in my region. And of course it was the exact moment I realized I need it no matter what.
I need it now, not later. No!
So I've started periodically looking it up on eBay and checking its brand on Vinted, and for a month or so it all looked pretty hopeless, until obviously one lucky day. Of course I ordered it immediately and soon became a happy owner of this wonderfully funky and over-the-top piece. I've tried this method several times since then, and frankly it doesn't work every single time, but I still think this trick worth sharing. Talking about lucky findings, I can't go without mentioning vintage pieces. Of course, it makes sense only if you're into vintage fashion, but I feel like it becomes more and more popular these days. And anyways, the vast majority of current fashion trends have been around at some point in the past. So going for an existing item instead of mass market replica could make some sense. I'm not sure if everybody feels that way, but for me, going for the leather trench coat from the 90s, or a vintage flat cap, or the exact corduroy pants I remember from my childhood is just more emotionally fulfilling and brings me some warm nostalgia every time I wear one of such pieces. Another interesting thing about thrifting, which actually surprised me quite a bit when I first noticed it, is that for certain pieces and categories, the variety is actually way greater than in the mass market stores you can find in your local mall. From my experience, it's especially true when it comes to the accessories like hats and scarves. I'm always struggling to find them in stores, as the choice is quite limited and nothing like what I'm looking for.
Also predictable, there's no element of surprise.
And surely, especially with the online thrifting, a lot of the options would still be from those mass market brands, but at least not only of a current season. So in case you don't like your current mass market selection, it definitely worth checking out some big online thrift platform. If to talk about something a bit more obvious, another reason to try thrifting is a higher chance to get great quality for a reasonable price. It's especially true about vintage stuff. If it managed not to disintegrate throughout a couple of decades, it's less likely to do so on your watch. But it's not limited to vintage. And honestly, I'm not the best person to talk about quality, as I'm quite okay with some kinds of synthetic and non-breathable materials, simply because I'm always freezing and they tend to be warm. But for the same reason, I really like wool sweaters, for instance, which are really hard to buy new and not spend a fortune these days. The quality difference is also very obvious when it comes to the leather items. I have a bunch of vintage leather jackets and one from ASOS, and the comparison doesn't do any favors to ASOS, obviously. So yeah, if you prefer natural fabrics or you are simply looking for better construction and quality, I'd definitely recommend to look into second-hand market. Another not so obvious reason to opt for thrifting is that some items are just better when they are already a bit worn. And yeah, I'm talking about Doc Martens again. I know it's not always the case, as I have one as soft as a cloud pair from them, but most of the time they are so hard to break in, I'd really appreciate some help with this task. And with their durability, a slightly worn pair usually looks almost the same as a new one. So yeah, with all my love for the dogs, I'm hardly buying them new again, and it's not only because the insane prices. The last point I'd like to mention is definitely a question of your personal preferences and your style approach, but I still think it worth some discussion. So nowadays almost everything we see constantly influences us, and it's hardly possible to hide from it completely. We can at least try to manage our sources of inspiration when we can. And I feel like introducing more secondhand shopping into your life helps to distance a bit from mass market and fast fashion discourse and focus a bit more on your personal style and the things you genuinely like. So if your goal is to find the clothing staples that work specifically for you or to develop a personal style, or you're struggling to understand if you want something because you like it or because it's everywhere, thrifting can help you with that. Alright, that's all I have to share with you today. Thank you so much for watching, and please let me know in the comments what do you like or don't like about thrifting. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe for more fun and inspirational fashion content. See you next time!